I have a poem here that has a Alaska reference anyway, so I'm gonna read that, start with that too. It's called Corvus. My wife thinks the crows are talking to her with their midnight beaks and ragged feathers, and maybe she sees the sky through their eyes, the reef of dark storm cloud off to the west, the flutter of deep laughter under her breast and under their bandaged squawks. And I'm thankful for the privilege of memory and thought, for I still wear the scar on my hand from setting steel steps onto the trailers, my first week in Dead Horse near Prudhoe Bay, back when we had an Arctic where a can of soda left outside for 3 minutes would freeze into solid ice. Ice in the air, ice in the sky, ice in our nostrils and under our eyes. Who knew someday we would miss it? Ice tears and ice spit, ice piss and ice shit, so cold you couldn't smell. Glare ice like the front yard of hell. And the first living creature, a raven, perched on the trash burner with a voice like bent tin under the delicate rose-colored sun, which never lifted above the horizon, circling all day like a dim lamp along the gray edge of heaven. And this one is a pretty new one. It's called Masks. I refuse to wear one in the great outdoors, walking by the sea in the live air or under the cypress trees growing near, though sometimes I want to turn away from the pale sky, a solitary plane trailing through, and one big crow high up on the wing, carrying something white in its beak, a solstice messenger who knows how to talk, but doesn't know how to sing. Over these beloved latitudes, where the rabbit drums his back foot before springing away through the tall grass, since these are the holidays of the pandemic and nothing makes too much sense, I need a lawyer to interpret my dreams and a long train to carry the dead, the part that's unseen and the part that's unsaid, except for the sound of December wind and the smell of pine resin and rabbit's breath, which has gone underground again. Lately, I've gotten onto this thing of rhyming, which for a while, I mean, it was like a form of Tourette's, I think. I just couldn't stop it. But anyway, I just started doing it. And then I was rhyming and rhyming away. And without much knowledge or forethought, I have to say, but somewhere in here, oh yeah, here goes my December 2020. This year, an old guy named Lewis has driven me to the market in his blue half-ton Ford, which goes by the name of Anthony and has a hole in the floor. And we've loaded up with a Christmas ham and spinach and 12 ruby skin yams, pumpkin filling in an oversized can, cinnamon sticks from Vietnam, and one copy of USA Today, useless except for the crossword. For today is the winter solstice, winter to half the earth, shortest day, longest night, here in the quiet north, under the moon and Venus above, Saturn conjunct with Jupiter, where no one needs to anxiously hope or endlessly seek for love. though we can write down a solstice wish and throw it into the fire and peel an orange in the darkness. This poem's called Materials. There's pieces of silver and pieces of rock, wood blades spinning in the ceiling fan, the temperature high, maybe over 100, where you sleep in the electric TV light with the clicker under your hand. And when I was a boy, I slept in the attic next to my pagan drum, though sometimes I felt like an alien there, rhythmic and speechless, half ashamed. And I dreamed of a woman with wine-colored hair, swirled back like a tangled mane. Today, I know there's no God but God, watching the big woman next door, bending down in her purple robe and putting out food for the cats. For she must have been in love before, standing outside in the shadows alone, listening to gulls cry out in the wind, which goes wherever it wants to go and may not return again. This one is called Wildfire Season. She wants you to follow the tracks to the sea and stop thinking about tomorrow. The tracks of the ravens and herons and crows that scar up the landscape and keep pressing down. And though you don't wish to go through this again, she wants you to rise up into the air with its smoke and particles falling like rain, ashes of trees and houses and cars, of burned up coyote fur, burned up guitars, even the ashes of someone's mother shaped like a little French wing, an aileron hovering above California, where the trains roll south and the crossing bells ring. For these are the days to be patient and try not to want anything. And these are the nights you can't see the stars, to drink extra water and climb the stairs slowly and practice your quietest breathing. This is a poem called Shadow, and it has a little reference in it to a famous Wallace Stevens poem, The Jar. Just a little reference. There's no one in the forest to help you with the task of remembering your name. No secret ceremony in the leaves this far away from home, with a sound in your ears like tinnitus, or a distant ringing from outer space, or it could be water running over the stones of a woman's backbone away from her face. Oh, bride of science called down from the stars, oh, glass jar placed on a hill, to calm the mind in its ranging flight over the broken fields of night and the ocean that looks like wrecked steel. This time of life can make its own weather and sometimes brings its own fear, like the dry wind blowing west from Nevada, threatening the land with fire. But you know you want to give something back to the woods which have held you, where you lay down to sleep below the ledges of rock and the oaks, their limbs stretched out through November, their roots sunk fast and deep. Trying to see how I'm doing here, but I can't see it. You know, you click on one of these. Oh, okay, that's working good. So this poem is called Twilight. There's so much technological stuff going on in the world that it's hard to keep up with it all. But that timer is a good deal. Twilight. Sometimes I think you'd give anything to disappear into the twilight again, to walk away from me, not looking back, through the forest's insomniac shuffling, the ravens unloosening the pines, where the blue mud squishes under your soles, in your left hand a jar of cheap wine, which is clouded up like a blurry lens, the dust of the air from 5 counties east, which comes drifting through the August night, smelling of burning grass. And these lines were not written above Tintern Abbey, nor from the NASA space station with its extraterrestrial perspective, its silicate windows and oxygen, and the galaxies clustered along some filament like a river that has no end. For your hair is a world full of time and despair, which can't be compared to any other. Its dark red thicknesses streaked with gray, me with my perfume, and you with your feathers, for we were always obsessive lovers. And I'll close with this last piece, which is called Ars Poetica. And I got it from this, my friend Marvin Bell used to quote Jasper Johns all the time, where he said the artists are the elite of the serving classes. I take out the trash in the rain, which glimmers there, a watery blur, and murmurs aloud on the hoods of the cars and rattles the garbage cans. For I provide room service on the first floor. Just leave the leftovers outside the door. Orange peels and a scrambled egg, the smudge of salsa that lands on my shoe. I have nothing to worry about, neither do you. Nor does my old neighbor sprawled in his bunk, listening to rain in the cave of his room. He's lame from arthritis, but he's not drunk, though he misses the days when he could still work at his plasterer's trade with his trowels and knives tucked away neatly under the eaves. For breakfast, I bring him a strawberry Ensure until he can make it down the stairs and roll the walker across to his chair. For coffee and toast with 3 or 4 prunes and a program about fishing on the Tasman Sea, smoking his long pipe of Turkish tobacco. Or he might call his daughter in Indiana, though inside of me and inside of him, there's a great white shark that never rests. It swims all night through the stomach and heart, like the ceaseless predatory mind of art.